This is NBC6 South Florida Today.
Well, there's a phrase in the Latin culture, and we'll translate it for you. A fat baby is a healthy baby. You've heard it, oh, gordito. Well, our next guest comes from that culture, and she says, no, 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 gordito is not healthy. This is the English version of Claudia Gonzalez's book, Gordito Does Not Mean Healthy, and it's available in a Spanish version as well. And this may have started in all cultures, but why is it so persistent among Hispanics talking about childhood obesity?
Well, as a mother of three, well, they're teenagers now, but I remember I was breastfeeding my babies. And then my mother used to tell me, oh, they're so skinny. I mean, you had to feed them, give them formula. I said to my mother, no, I'm just breastfeeding them, so they're fine. Because when you go to the doctor, the pediatrician, he tells you, you know, they're fine, they're growing fine, their weight is fine. But we tend to think, my baby's gordito, chubby, so it means that my baby's healthy.
Okay, but and you are a dietitian, so you know this all too well. In terms of the entire United States population, the Hispanics are really at risk for developing some of these health tangential downgrades. I mean, we're talking about diabetes, yes. We're talking about obesity, and then all of the diseases that can come from them.
Yes, and unfortunately, we're number one. I mean, who wants to be number one in obesity? But that's what is happening with Hispanic children. We're number one in obesity, diabetes, because now we see a 7-, 8-year-old having diabetes type 2, which before it was a disease for a 40-, 50-year-old. Right. So what happened is that in the book, we're trying to tell people, you know, you can do it. It's not easy, but you can do it. And also to try to avoid to do those quick diets because they're not appropriate for a child.
So what is it about the Hispanic culture that needs to be changed, and specifically focusing on the Hispanic culture as compared to everybody else? What do we need to do?
Well, what happened is as we come to this country, many things happen. You know, we tend to exercise less. We are trying to adapt to the culture. We're trying to go to fast food restaurants because it's easier, it's cheaper. And we're forgetting actually our values. I mean, the food that we eat sometimes is even healthier than what we eat here. So what happens is that we're trying to tell people, go back to your roots and find a balance because, you know, of course you want to enjoy sometimes a fast food restaurant, you know.
Sure.
But I mean, it's a balance, an exercise, because children go home, TV, computers, and they don't exercise.
Right, right. It's so important to get them into exercise. And two, I think when you're looking at the population as a whole, you're looking at a lot of immigrants who don't have any money, and the fast food is the cheapest.
Exactly. And they don't have access to medical insurance. And, you know, with the book, I'm telling them, you don't have to pay for a registered dietitian. If you can afford it, pay for her.
Right.
Pay for the services, but here is everything in a book. You know, whatever I tell to my clients, my patients in my office, this is actually what you can do at home.
So what are you telling them to do at home? Easy things that we can all use.
Exactly. We have snacks, samples of menus throughout all ages, you know, from birth to 19. Because what happens is if you have a 7-year-old, then you go to that chapter and then you read that chapter. So it's a very complete book in terms of, you know, covers everything in terms of ages.
Right. But what about Abuela, who is saying, no, 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 you know, and she goes back to her roots and saying, no, a healthy child is one that's got a little meat on them, and when your back is turned and when you're at work doing what you're doing, she's the one giving them all the fattening things, the flour tortillas, the frijoles, etc.
Yes, actually we had to set up the example as parents, right? But you know, in the book we have a pyramid. I did my own pyramid because we eat differently. You know, we were talking about fries, potatoes, yuca, malanga. You know, when a Latino eats, he puts or she puts everything in that plate. You know, so many carbohydrates, not because they're bad, but we need to give space to something else. You know, we put yuca, malanga, potatoes, you know, I mean, everything carbohydrate, you know, so I'm going into that culture and telling them it's good to have them, but let me show you how to do it.
Very good. And in addition to that, you also say that we as parents, just like every culture, we have to set the example.
Exactly.
And if you want your kids to eat vegetables, you got to eat them too.
Precisely.
And
that,
often
yes.
and right in front of them. And even if you have to fake it, oh, this is so good. Right?
And talk good, you know, not to say this is bad, I mean, you're fat, you know, very nice conversations, because we harm sometimes. You know, we say negative things.
Right, and in my case, I always say, let's be healthy.
Exactly.
I don't care what you look like, you'll always be handsome to me, but let's be healthy about it so that you live a nice long time.
That's the word.
great. I'm so glad that you did this book, particularly targeted to Hispanics, because sometimes we lose things in translation.
Exactly.
Now it's just for you. The book, again, is called Gordito Doesn't Mean Healthy. It is written by our guests Claudia Gonzalez and Lourdes Alcañiz. Am I right?
Yes.
Thank you. I practiced. And it's available anywhere books are sold. Trina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I really don't know why they always seem to put the diet segments right next